Well, welcome, Janice. We're really happy to have you on our podcast and get to learn more about your background and everything that you're doing. So many exciting things going on in your life right now, it sounds like. And just to give our audience just a little bit of a background about you, that since they don't know who you are, and you're an inspirational speaker, and just in Egypt, you have a TV show, you have podcast hosts, court certified Spanish interpreter. That's pretty cool. You have voiceover artistry, actor, yoga instructor, and author. Is there anything you don't do in that? I sounds like you got everything going. And then you've even spoken on a TEDx stage a couple times, and I guess you have some really cool topics. I was like, kicking the people pleasing habit. That's an important one that you did. And then this whole cool like walking through one fear per year. I love that other talk, and your purpose in life. You share more about it. It's to share hope and encouragement with others through the power of words and messy action. I resonate with the messy action. I feel like I am definitely a messy action person. So we share that. I think it's there's some working geniuses I would directly relate that to, that Dominic doesn't have any of. He's my ordered. Look at his background. I mean, like, it's amazing. Like, look at yours. Mine would be look like yours, and then there's Dominic. Like, nothing out of place. Like, every little thing perfectly situated. That's why we're partners in this podcast. And so
I love that.
welcome.
I love that because I was going to say, you're like, is there anything you don't do? I was like, numbers. Anything with
Yeah.
numbers, please. I am the worst.
I am with you on that. And that's all that Dominic does. So it just plays right into what we're talking about.
Natural flow, baby.
Flow of life right there.
Yeah,
You need both sides of the brain, and we make Dominic and I make one full brain. So it's pretty amazing. We want to hear more about your brain and all your stuff. So
yeah,
welcome to the
no,
podcast.
Janice, I would absolutely love for you to kick off kind of with like your origin story, and we connected earlier, and you shared it with me, and I think it's just so inspirational in so many different ways. So let's start off there.
So, origin story, man. Well, the reason I'm a Spanish interpreter, first of all, is I lived in Mexico City when I was a little girl. My parents were missionaries over there. So I was there for 5 years of like my growing up childhood time experience was there. And I loved that experience. I felt like it was amazing. It was a gift. I tell my parents, you might be screwed up in some areas, but that was one gift that you gave me that I'm like, wow, that was just amazing. And then got married really young, have two amazing kids that are now adults, and, thought I was going to be married forever, as I think, most of us do when we get into a marriage, and then ended up going through a divorce about 12 or so years ago. And I am a recovering people pleaser and was very codependent. So it was very earth shattering, just like, which way is up? This way is up. No, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And during that process of separation, divorce, and figuring out like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Who am I kind of thing? I had this realization that my life was controlled by fear. I was just had a lot of fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of abandonment. I mean, literally, like, you name it, all the fears. And I did a lot of therapy, different types, which I highly recommend. So not just the cognitive behavioral, but a lot of other types. And in that process was like, well, if I'm trapped by fear, the ticket to freedom is to actually walk through those fears, which is also terrifying. Like, it's all fear. But I made a vow I was going to do one thing every year that really pulled me straight out of my comfort zone. And I figured I have 365 days to really put it together, to figure out how to accomplish whatever the thing was. And so now I have this list of, like 13 or 14 things that I've done that I can attest to the fact that when you walk through your fears, you will be transformed. And, you know, it's changed me completely as a human being.
That's an excellent start, and couldn't agree with you more. Like being able to, you know, identify those fears and take them, you know, head on. Like it changes you as a person, helps build your confidence, and pushes you to grow in ways that you never imagined. So hats off to you for, you know, going down that path and down that journey. Perhaps we could circle back to something that you mentioned to me earlier about your childhood and speech and debate. There was a story that you shared with me I think would be helpful for our audience to hear. And also for me, as you shared the story, I had like so much respect for you given what you do now. So take us back to, you know, that time in your life.
Yes. So I've always been kind of a dramatic child, and I liked acting, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to join a drama class. Well, my high school didn't have one. So they did have a speech and debate class, which was like the next best thing. So I go in the speech and debate class and had an amazing teacher. All of you all that have had one good teacher out there, just know that one that sticks in your head. So mine was Mr. Miller, who was in a wheelchair and would still drive us in his van to competitions and different things. And so I ended up competing in some speech things, competitions. And one of them, it was like a Lions Club thing. And it was a 5-minute speech. And I made it to the finals. And I know this thing like the back of my hand because I've been practicing and practicing. But when you're in the finals, you don't get your little note cards. And also it's a much bigger audience because people invite people. So I'm standing there. I'm the first person up to give my speech. And about a minute in, my brain just like glitched and just went blank. And I just stand there and you hear a pin drop in that room. I mean, I can still just vividly remember the feeling and just the environment. So I just put my head down, waited. It probably was like 10, 15 seconds of just silence. And then finally something popped into my head and, you know, I finished the speech, but I lost the competition. And because of not processing that one event, because I didn't really talk about it to anybody, I just kind of left, you know, with this shame feeling and this not good enough feeling, and didn't talk to my parents about it, didn't talk to really anybody about it. And I didn't speak publicly again for about 20 years because of that experience and feeling so like loss of control and disappointed with yourself, all that stuff. So when I was doing this 1 fear per year thing, a vow, one of the first things I said was public speaking. I got to get back because I really do enjoy it once I get over the fact that I'm terrified about judgment or being seen sometimes or all that stuff. I do really like it. So I joined Toastmasters and just started speaking again. And the point of messy action is even to this day, I can stand up. Even in Egypt, I stood up and I will start, not every time, but most of the time I get very shaky. You know, some people say, oh, I sweat, I stutter, different things. Yeah. Mine is this involuntary, just like almost a convulsion. Like I just start shaking crazy, like, and so I usually have to kind of hold on to something or steady myself. But I'm telling you, I really don't care anymore because I know that nothing is worse than living in that prison of fear. And I truly want to encourage other people that really feel trapped, like it's a lie. And we are here to live our best lives. Everybody has a purpose and different passions, and like we're here to explore all of that and do it despite the fear.
Well, they do say that public speaking is right next to fear of sharks. So it's like being eaten by a large shark is almost on the same level of public speaking for a lot of people. So I totally uh, love what you were saying around overcoming the fear, and I think it's one of the most important things that we can do, because we just get stuck in this comfort zone, or we get stuck in a place where we're not able to really live into our gifts and our talents, and that's not what we're called to, like you said, and that's it's really important to own that and to live in that. And you could also turn the shaking into like your signature dance move. Like you could just start like coming on and just like just turn it into like the signature Janice move during right when you get on the stage. You just show it to them.
The
You're like,
running man.
just showing you guys my moves. What's up, everybody? And make it into something that makes them relaxed and like it breaks.
You know what
mood.
You know what I thought? That's hilarious that you just said that, because I was like, I need to just stand up there and instead of saying I'm an inspirational speaker, I'm going to be like, I'm an inspirational shaker. Like,
Yeah,
that's it. Put it out there.
yeah. Exactly. Just own the vulnerability of that. It's authenticity at its finest.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that.
That was so powerful. Like, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, a good place to pick up from that is, perhaps, at this point where you realize, oh my goodness, my life is completely changed. I need to reinvent myself. I'm going to take on, this fear year. Like, tell us a little bit more about that journey. And, so obviously, taking on this fear of public speaking has been, a big thing that you have conquered, but perhaps there's a couple others that you might want to share with our audience.
Totally. And I want to say too, because you said conquered and then Justin said overcome, and yes, sometimes I feel like that can be the case, and sometimes I think to myself, maybe the fear will always be there a little bit, and that's okay, as long as we don't let it stop us, as long as I don't let it paralyze me from actually doing the thing. Because like I said, case in point, Egypt, which was just like 2 weeks ago, I stood up there and I'm like kind of shaky again. Thank goodness they had a little Cairo talk stand that I could kind of hold on to stabilize myself, and then it goes away. But so just that little encouragement to people, like, maybe we're hoping not, but maybe it's just always going to be there a little bit. And we do the thing anyway, every time. It's just a commitment kind of in my mind. So one of the first things I did was run a marathon. That was one of my first fears, because I would watch people do it and think like impossible. I don't even know. I don't think I could finish one. I mean, that was like the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did. And then once you do something that you once felt was impossible, you're like, holy crap, what else out there might I be able to do that I thought that I couldn't do? So that was one. I did things like I self-published a memoir, which had just some family secrets and things that I just didn't want to be responsible for anymore. So I just wanted to, and that was a big fear because it involved family and different things. And so you don't want to disappoint people or piss people off or whatever. But I really was committed to just changing, like showing up in a different way. So that was one of them. I competed in a bodybuilding competition when I think I was about 42, and there were all these 20-year-olds. And so talk about, like, that was probably one of the most that touched on the most fears, because as a woman with body image issues and, having had kids and just being older and being raised very modest and just a lot of things that that one was interesting that one year. And then things like learning to sit in stillness and meditate was actually kind of a big fear, because it's uncomfortable, or we try to numb a lot and run away from our emotional wounds. And so to like really sit in stillness, I did a yoga teacher training retreat, and it was in Hawaii, so not a bad place to do it. But every
Rough.
morning, yeah, super rough, right? But every morning we would wake up and meditate. And I remember the first couple times I felt like I wanted to crawl out of my skin, like just that uncomfortable feeling. And so, speaking of that, I would suggest to anybody that's doing anything like working through fears and walking through them, accountability and people around you is so important. I mean, it's kind of crucial in my opinion, because I haven't done anything without a coach, a mentor, a team, a group, something.
We both actually met at a silent retreat, so we get you on the silence. Yeah.
I did that once too, and I think I was telling you. Did I mention to you about the dark?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Did you tell Justin?
I did not know.
So here's your next thing that maybe, I mean, it's kind of intense. It really does scare me, but I want to do one where you go into, it's a room, but it's kind of in like a cave, and it's dark, pitch black for like 3 days. And you're by yourself. They bring you food, leave it at your door, but there's a bath and a bed, but you're not seeing no technology. It is you with the darkness, just pitch black. And people come out of that with such epiphanies. I mean, I watch some of these videos and just go, wow. I mean, it's difficult. Like, hard things are hard for a reason, I feel like, because not a lot of people want to do them, but on the other side of it, they're so transformed and changed that it kind of makes you then want to do the hard thing.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is known for, that's kind of like they talk about, he goes into the cave or goes into like darkness. I think he does that same type of a situation. So it's almost like you're going to prison for 3 days, because they put you in science. What do they call it? No, solitary confinement.
Yeah.
It's like you're paying somebody to put you in solitary confinement for 3 days.
Totally.
So just get arrested. Be like, put me in solitary confinement. I'm going to save some money. I'm a little frugal. I don't really want to spend the money for the cave. If you could just arrest me, put me in solitary confinement, but only a 3-day arrest, and don't put any large black men in my room at all. Okay. I want to go straight to solitary, do my 3 days, then come out, and then let me go. That's all I want.
Trust me, you would save money, because this was not a cheap retreat. I'm just saying.
Just one other direction to go. I'm an inventor. I like to come up with outside the box solutions. So there you go. I won't do well in prison though, so I'm not going to go for that one.
No.
All right, Dom, you can rein us back in, because I take us on fun little squirrel tangents, and then he reins me back in. That's how that's our. I'm the color commentary. He's the play-by-play. So that's how we do this.
I love it.
So Janice, I mean, kind of going back to the point where you realize you need to reinvent yourself. Like, for a lot of people, I mean, personally, I've seen, and I work with, quite a few different individuals, very different backgrounds, a lot of small business owners, but also a lot of employees as well. A very hard step is the first step in terms of starting your own venture or doing the thing that you've dreamed about, or, whatever it may be. So take us through, those moments and, that discovery process, and really being able to re-identify the gifts that you've been given, and, build this career path that you've established for yourself. I think that'd be incredibly helpful for a lot of people.
Well, like I said, I did a lot of therapy, and I mean, I think everyone would benefit from therapy. That is my own personal opinion. But I did so many different types, like EMDR, hypnotherapy, which was hugely transformative because that's dealing with your subconscious. So you're not just doing talk therapy, up here with just your thoughts and your brain. It's like you're going deeper into the subconscious with that. I did like neurofeedback. I read a ton of self-help books, a lot of things online. I did those free like 5-day challenges where speakers would come on and like encourage you. And so I would say really putting yourself in an environment that is full of people that you look at and go, I like how that person operates. I like the confidence there, or I like the spirituality there, or I like that whatever it is that you look at, or like that's what you want to embody more of. Find those groups. Because like I said before, doing it on our own, I mean, first of all, not as much fun, also more difficult. I just always would look for groups like the marathon. There was a training group, a running group, and they also then train you about or teach you about nutrition, pace, like things that you wouldn't know either. So really finding those individuals and getting in the spaces where they are, whether that be a free challenge or maybe you have to pay for a networking mastermind thing, but you're constantly being encouraged, because especially with patterns, like to break patterns and stuff, we need to do a lot of changing with what is status quo, what we're used to right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And that comes from different angles, right? Like it's both, some of the physical stuff, but also how we're thinking about it and the steps necessary to change our wiring, our habit with the habits. It's definitely the James Clear, BJ Fogg, a lot of those guys talk about, just streamline and making it simple. And I think that's, one of those great things. It's like a teaching that's been around for hundreds of years, but now it's kind of really taking on its own, because we all want to just like climb the mountain in one day. But you're saying like, yeah, get your clan around you, get your people, and then take the necessary steps to learn to grow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, there's a saying: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. Right? I think it's exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
And it'll be things that you wouldn't even think of yourself. Like one of my fears one year that I walked through was doing a stand-up comedy routine, but it was taking your trauma and reframing it through the lens of comedy and humor. So it was like an online program thing that I signed up for, and it was 8 weeks. And it really, she says to take something that causes you a moderate amount of emotional pain. You don't want to go for something like crazy and like write jokes about it, at least not right away when you're dealing with this. But it really helped me reframe, like just sometimes we need something a little different and a little quirky for our brain to just go, oh, I can look at this differently, or, oh, there's another angle to this, another narrative and stuff like that. So like mine, I was going to do it on the fact that my ex-husband had gotten together with a much younger woman, right? So that's like a big one that I think a lot of people struggle with. And so that was like my one that caused me that pain and stuff. But as I was working through it, I thought, I've been really good at blaming other people my whole life. So what about if I do this comedy routine as a little bit of a roast on me instead? Like flip the script, and what are my weaknesses? Like, what are my flaws? But do it not from shame and feeling bad, but more from awareness, acceptance, compassion. So I did this it's a song, actually, like a little song bit that I wrote up about my insecurities and needing validation and all of that. So it's cool to just try different things.
It's almost like using comedy around, like to do CBT to a degree. It's like a little bit kind of, because you're you're changing the narrative, you're adjusting how you're viewing that thing and bringing it into a new light, but using comedy to do it.
Yeah, it's cool.
And for those that don't know, I throw out so cognitive behavioral therapy, Aaron Beck's. That's, I mean, you know that, but like for our audience, like that's cognitive behavioral therapy. It's distortions that you have internalized as core beliefs that are reframed and change the narrative so that you have a new core belief that replaces it. So just so we're not just throwing out random things that no one knows we're talking about.
Totally. And it really is such a cool thing to realize how much power we have to be able to do that. And maybe it's just a matter of being taught how to do that and really being intentional with, okay, wait, how am I processing this? What am I saying that this means? What's the meaning I'm giving to this? And then being able to be like, well, that's a crappy meaning. Why would I want to, why am I choosing to give it that meaning? I'm going to give it this meaning that is much healthier and makes me feel better.
Yeah. We treat ourselves like we would never treat any other person. So it's kind of hilarious how that works.
Totally.
So Janice,
Dom,
when you,
yeah.
I was going to say, so Janice, when you speak professionally, what are some of the different topics that you speak to?
A lot of this walking through fear, because I think fear, it doesn't matter if you're maybe homeless, walking the streets with, no money, no home, or you really are one of the wealthiest people. I believe everybody at maybe different points in your life, seasons of life, but we all deal with fear. And so being able to identify those fears and be intentional about walking through them so that ultimately we can live our best lives. I mean, at the end of the day, I just love encouraging people to take life by the horns, so to speak, or be out in the arena. You know how they say, what's that one saying about people when they're judging you and they're sitting in the stands, and it's like normally anybody that's judging you is sitting in the stands. They're not in the arena, doing the work, fighting or performing or whatever. So let's all be the people that are in the arena doing the thing, getting muddy, getting, maybe a little beat up, but it's like we are living our damn life and we are making a difference in this earth while we are here, with the short amount of time that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the observations that I've had over my career is there's a lot of people who live life playing not to lose, if you will. Right. They take the more conservative approach. They only examine the downside, not the potential upside. And there's a lesser group of people who play to win, right? Where they're not letting their fears completely dominate and control and determine the decisions that they make. And, within personal finance, it is pretty interesting because when the market's down, let's say it's down 10%, the per unit that the market's down, we experience much more pain than if the opposite were true. If the market was up 10% and your accounts were up 10%, right? So just being able to think through that and just, be able to take, step back and see the bigger picture. I think that is just tremendously important. I think it's amazing that you're able to speak to that.
And I mean, great point. I love how our life can also mirror seasons of spring, summer, fall and winter is kind of cool. And to be able to, it's helped me a lot to think about my life as seasons, and knowing it's not always summer, it's not always going to be summer. And so when you just accept that, oh yeah, I have family members in the hospital, or, oh yeah, I'm moving and this is a pain in the butt, or whatever, but going, oh, this is the winter season, or this is the fall, or whatever. And then there's, the sun always comes out tomorrow, as Annie says so eloquently.
Well, and living where we live in like the Sacramento area, you don't want summer all the time because
True.
if it was 110 like all year long, I think some people would really struggle with that. So, some spring and some fall is really nice.
That is a very good point. Yes. And the leaves have to drop. So you get the new beautiful leaves on. I mean, yeah, there's benefits to all of that. But good point. Sacramento summers can be intense.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you, kind of quick segue here, but how did you get into doing voiceover?
You know what's so funny? So most of the things I do where I earn money all started out as fears. So
Mm.
acting, like I mentioned, I loved acting when I was younger. I never pursued it. Because again, I was like I was on a different path and probably fear. But then I was like, man, I've always loved to act. So I'm going to look up, how do I audition for something? Just started Googling. I went and auditioned, and got a role in a short film, went and filmed that. And then I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so then I started doing a little bit of research into voiceovers and thinking, why couldn't I do that? Especially because I speak Spanish, could do like a little bilingual voiceover thing. So I have a fairly big closet that I just turned into a voiceover studio. And I just started reaching out. There's some agencies where you can put samples on, and started getting calls for voiceovers. And one of the things I did was a Red Lobster. When you call in their thing, thank you for calling Red Lobster.
And then in Spanish, right? ¿Dónde está el marinero?
La langosta roja. Gracias por llamar.
Or two in Spanish, in Espanol.
Oh, totally. So that's what's cool too, is as we walk through our fears, doors open that they never would have if we just, stay and do the safe thing, or don't try it because we're scared we're going to get rejected or not get the gig. But what's cool is if you have that mentality of, oh, I'm going to do one fear per year, and that's the challenge, so to speak, then the outcome really doesn't matter. So for me, I go into things because I want to walk through my fear, not because I want to get the gig per se. I mean, it's nice, but if I don't, I'm just like, I walked through another fear, woo, and I move on to the next thing.
Well, being an entrepreneur, it's like, I mean, I think fear is the center of being an entrepreneur. Like you're having to overcome a lot of fears if you go down that road, And
Yep.
so, and how have you met with a decent amount of entrepreneurs, and have you seen any connections of how that overcoming those fears have helped in their journeys?
Yeah. I mean, I really do think fear is the number one thing that holds people back. And there are different types of fears. So figuring out, okay, is this because I have a fear of someone rejecting me, or I have a fear of failure, or at the end of the day, it's really the fear of not being good enough. It's just this underlying fear of not being good enough, fear of not being good enough. So working on the self-love component, and when you take action and actually walk through your fear, you do gain confidence, and you gain respect for yourself, and you gain love for yourself. It's really cool how that works, but you have to do the thing first. It's like the walking off the mountain, and then pulling the parachute, I guess, concept. But yes, to answer your question, a lot of my entrepreneurial friends do some crazy cool things, and I love talking to people like that, like especially when you see in their eyes and you just know, talking to them, that the fear is immense, like it's a lot, and they do the thing anyway. I have the most respect for that than I think I have for anything else on the planet. because it just is, it's courageous. Like that is the courage, is feeling that terrified and
And
going,
still doing it.
yes, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah. I would love to circle back to something you said that is like absolutely fascinating, but like so true. And I wish more people, were able to recognize and utilize this perspective. And what you said was taking on these fears without necessarily having any attachment to the outcome. And it's like, man, that is such a cool perspective and cool thing. So like, how did you kind of come to that realization as you were on this journey?
Because I would do things and then get just kind of devastated. I remember I've done several speaking competitions now, because that was one of the big ones that like started a lot of my fear. Mm-hmm. So I've been wanting to go in and do these speaking competitions. And I remember at the very beginning, I did one and I didn't win. And I remember going back to my hotel room, because it was in Long Beach and it was like a live conference and stuff. And I just was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? And that whole just feeling so horrible, like I lost. And that's why they're called triggers, kind of, because that was just in me from when I was a teenager. But I allowed myself to feel it, and to, have a night of just like, oh man, is this the path? Like, this doesn't feel good. I don't feel good about this. But then I woke up the next day, and you always feel a little bit better the next day. And then the day after that, and I was like, nope, we're going to get back up in the saddle. We're going to do it again. And that's when I kind of realized, if I view this, talk about the reframe, if I can view this as I am not doing this to win, not the bodybuilding competition, not to get laughs when I'm doing the stand-up comedy thing, not to speak perfectly without shaking. I'm just doing it because I don't want to live my life trapped in fear. Then I win. Like, it's a win. Like, I win no matter what. It doesn't matter. And then it's just a cherry on top. Like one speech competition, I actually did win. And the prize ended up being a keynote speaking tour to Kenya.
Wow.
I mean, of any of the ones to win, that was the one to win. And I was so grateful for being able to win at that moment, that all the rest of the times I had lost, I was like, good, I'm glad I lost those, because this wouldn't be as sweet and as beautiful to win this one.
Love it. I think, I can't remember who exactly said this, but there's a saying, either I win or I learn, I do not lose.
Yeah.
And I think it's, amazing that, and being able just to like go through a process, like with that openness, like you may fail the first time, you may fail the second time, it could be you fail the 100th time, right? But like, you're still on that journey and you're learning as you go. And I think there's, so many people who, are afraid to venture into entrepreneurship, or afraid to be a business owner, afraid to do whatever it may be. And they don't realize like it's going to be this like continual evolution, continual learning process. And you can't necessarily be super attached to the first, outcome. Like, it'll gradually evolve and develop over time. And I think like what you've shown, like taking on these fears, is like, yeah, it's all part of the journey, all part of the process, which is amazing.
And you know what? I mean, having that mentality of, I don't care how many times I have to do, like, let's say it's a test that you have to pass to get a license for something. So like, I'm a court certified Spanish interpreter. I had to take this kind of intense test, and most people fail it the first time. This was while I was going through the separation and divorce too. So everything was just, topsy-turvy in my world. And I remember I took the test. I finally get the letter in the mail. I'm opening it on my front lawn area, and it's like, we regret to inform you. And I'm just like, oh, just
Yeah.
devastated. But I remember after, again, allow yourself some time to like feel the thing, grieve a little bit. That's totally cool. And I feel like good for you, kind of healthy to like feel the sadness, feel a little angry or whatever you want to feel, but then be like, okay, we felt that. And now I remember saying to myself, I will take this test as many times as I need to. And hopefully one day I'll pass it. Maybe I won't, but I don't care. You can only take it twice a year, and you have to pay a good amount of money to take it. I will take it as many times as I need to. And so having that kind of mentality, you can't go wrong in life. Like with that kind of mentality, you're not staying down. You're resilient. You're bouncing back up. And even if it's in unexpected ways, maybe something else happens that you didn't see coming, but yeah, it's just great for character, I feel like.
I love, fail. Like we fail and we're like, oh man, I'm crushed. I can't do that again. And then, but if you look at the acronym of what it really is, it's like just the first attempt in learning. It's same as the I win or I learn. But when a lot of things are about, changing the paradigm, right? Like,
Yep.
oh, I failed. No, actually, that was your first attempt in learning. Now did you grow? Did you learn something new? Yeah. So you didn't fail. You're better than you were yesterday. So you're making progress. That's all we need to measure, not the actual result of whether we failed or not.
You just taught me something new. I had never heard of FAIL as that acronym, and I freaking love it. That's awesome.
I'm glad I could teach you something today. I've learned a lot from you. So, I'm glad it could be a two-way street.
I was thinking you were going to say the fail forward, like you're failing forward concept, but I really like that.
That is another good one too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones around that.
Let's just re-quote everybody.
Yeah, right. I'm horrible
so
remembering
true.
who actually said these things. That's
I
my
know.
worst thing is like I want to attribute things to people and I could never for the life of me remember who actually said something that I learned like at some point in the past,
And you know what? They probably got it from somebody else that they don't remember either. It's kind of
Yeah.
probably one of those things.
I'm really impressed by people like Dominic who have an elephant brain and he can remember all those things and call those out. It's a really special thing. That's why I have friends like Dominic to help me remember those types of things. He's like, oh, that was this guy. I'm like, yeah, thanks.
Makes you whole. He is your
He
other half of
does.
your
My
brain.
other half of my brain. He's the left side, dominant frontal, prefrontal cortex. If you want to learn some things, that's executive functioning. That is Dominic at its core. So that's not me. ADHD brain. So it's all back on the occipital side of it. Yeah, it's good stuff. We're one full brain. It's awesome. We're a magical team.
I love that. That is very cool.
He's 2/3 of the brain. I think I probably have like a
Well,
third of it.
no, you're definitely the comedy, the happy, funny part of the brain. So it's my pleasure to co-host this with you, Justin.
We have a good time. We have fun.
Yeah, indeed. So Janice, I would changing gears slightly here. You've published multiple books. Take us kind of through that process and tell us a little bit more about these books.
Sure. So the first one was part of my healing journey. It's called Bits and Pieces of a Broken Heart. And that was the memoir that I was talking about that I was for me to heal and walk through fear and all of that. And then I did one other one after that. Oh my gosh, can't remember the name of that one. But and then my most recent one.
We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put it in the show notes for you.
Yeah, what is that called? Oh, From Broken to Open.
Perfect.
A heart story. So because I kind of wanted to go from the broken, just the more broken part, to like, hey, there's hope, and I'm getting a little more healed, and there's my heart's opening more. So that was that book. And then the last one is called Kicking the People-Pleasing Habit, a 6-step approach.
Love it. So
I could go into that whole people pleasing thing, but that'll be a whole nother episode. So I'm gonna leave that. We don't have a lot of time left.
It's a big
What's that?
one. A lot of
Right.
people struggle with people pleasing, either in little ways or, some real big ways. I was more a big time people pleaser, where I called it more of like an addiction. But I think for some people, it could be more just like a little habit or maybe a tendency on a lesser.
Well, one of the 6 working geniuses naturally does that if they're not watching out for it. So there's actually, almost that'd be like 15% of the population that would probably really suffer from that if they're not watching out. So that again, I could go into that whole time, which we don't have time for that. But it's definitely a fascinating topic of like boundaries and saying yes and when to say no and how to be not a people pleaser. So
Totally.
that might be us having a whole nother conversation at some point.
I feel like I could learn a lot from you. It sounds like on that note.
Well,
Potentially.
So Janice, like, take us through the process of writing these 3 different books. It sounds like they're very different books, and like, did you have like a set schedule for yourself? Did you have goals? Like, and it could be different for each book. I don't know, but I think for a number of successful entrepreneurs, like the concept and the idea of writing a comprehensive book, like it's just super overwhelming. So kind of take us through that journey a little bit.
Yes, although now I would say it's probably could be a little bit easier coming up here with all our AI technology and such. I was kind of thinking like, oh, I wonder if it's a good amount easier to put things together now with all of that, assistance.
Mm-hmm.
But the first one was more of a compilation of things that I had written. So it's letters, poems, and speeches. So I just kind of put together things that I wrote. So I didn't really have to think of a flow for that so much. And like I said, that was more for healing. It was a little bit, I didn't write it to like make money or, any of that. So, but the Kicking the People Pleasing Habit one, I saw there was a course. Again, like I said, I'm a huge proponent of like signing up for stuff or joining whatever. And it doesn't have to cost a ton of money. I think this one was $99, and it was like, write your book in 30 days, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, ooh, I just need a little bit of that accountability, a little bit of that help. And so I signed up for it. And all the guy did is every day he would send kind of like a prompt and encouragement and a little bit of framework on what you were going to do each time. And I did not write it in 30 days, but I got a good amount done in that time. And then I kind of let it sit on the shelf for a couple months. Because again, I was feeling a little overwhelmed and there was other things going on. But it was really on my heart to do. So after a couple months, I just kind of went back and slowly started chipping away at it again. And then hired a couple outside people, like from Fiverr and stuff, to help with formatting, just things that I didn't want to have to learn. And and that's kind of how it came together.
Amazing. I know there's like famous writers like Ernest Hemingway, for example, like he would set aside an hour a day minimum where he would just sit at the keyboard. It wasn't a production amount like he was shooting for, but it was just that discipline of having a dedicated hour every single day set aside to writing. So did you kind of take, that approach? Sounds like that course helped create some structure for you, but like, what did you end up doing that you found to be like, okay, here's my flow. Here's what I found to be helpful.
That was his also was an hour a day. And he also said something cool that I really liked was to get a playlist together of things that you could listen to that actually helped in your writing. So, everybody's tastes are different, but if you get this playlist together, every time you sit down to work on that specific thing, you always go and play that playlist. So your brain starts like going, oh, this is like my writing time, and relates the music to you sitting there and writing. So that was very helpful. And it depends on kind of what kind of writing you're doing. But I remember for the very first book, because a lot of us judge ourselves when we're writing, and we correct ourselves as we're going, and it kind of interrupts our train of thought and like where we're going. So it was just, I remember I would sit at my laptop, close my eyes, and just type. And not even, they call them brain dumps or whatever, where you're just flow, type. You can fix spelling errors later, you can fix whatever, but it just allows for you to circumvent, I guess, the critical brain, and just really tap into your creative, like what's inside of you that wants to come out stuff.
Amazing. I have to ask, who was on your playlist?
I actually cannot do anything with words. So it was all very instrumental, like almost meditative, yoga-esque music that I had. So I don't even know, but it was I remember every time I would sit down, I was like, oh yeah, this song again. And you just kind of go.
I do that with either symphony or Gregorian chant, because like it's not words, but it has kind of a good rhythm. But I find exactly what you're talking about. If you have that, and now like I can be a lot more focused with work when I put that on, because it allows me to zero in. Do you find that if you're in a place that has some distraction, like people around, but you have that that you can actually be sometimes more productive?
I actually don't do, I know people go to coffee shops and stuff. I don't. I usually do everything in my little home office and just sit and do it. Or I remember with one of them, I was at some cabin or somewhere like that. And that also was really cool. I always thought, if I wrote another book or just wanted to really focus in on something, it would be neat to go up to Tahoe and like get a cabin and be by myself and have it be like these 3 days, like this is what it's about, and make it a fun thing, not like, oh, I'm obligated, but like I really want to do this and sit and type my heart out and listen to music and just be in that kind of zone. So I think that's cool to do.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Do you have any last questions, Dom? Or
oh no, I was just gonna ask Janice, is there anything else that you want to share with our audience that we haven't yet covered?
I just love to encourage people to not let fear or doubts or that not good enough feeling hold you back from truly living a life that matters, where you can wake up every day and go, this is my life. I'm creating it. And as we do that, it's so interesting, because I used to think as a people pleaser that I was loving people, oh, I'll do anything for anybody. Yeah, I'm loving you. And also I'm resenting the heck out of you, like behind the scenes. And I have nothing to give anymore. My cup is empty. And the more I have done hard things, the more I've walked through fear, it's like, now I feel like my cup gets more and more full, so that I can then actually love those around me better, hopefully make more of an impact, show up more as like a vessel, instead of like ego and like, here's what I want you to know, but just allowing kind of just love to flow through. That's my deepest hope for my life. And I just hope the same for everybody else, that they feel and know that they are loved and that they are love.
can't really end it on a better note than that. I mean, love is the foundation of everything good.
That's right. That is right. The source of it all.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Janice. I mean, powerful story, and we love having you on, and appreciate you sharing everything with us and our audience today.
Thank you, and thank you for both being such an amazing brain together.
That one, the DJ brain, you know.